Hello friends, I am Manish Thokle. Today's video topic is a constructor. So we can see constructor in Java. Constructor is a block of code similar to the methods. It is called as similar to the method. It is called as when an instance of the class is created. At the time of calling constructor, memory for the objects is allocated in the memory. It is a special type of method which is used to initialize the object. Every time an object is created using the new keyword, at least one constructor is called. It calls a default constructor. If there is no constructor available in the class, in such case Java compiler provides a default constructor by default. Then there are two types of constructor in Java, without parameterized constructor and parameterized constructor. Then it is called a constructor because it constructor the values at the time of object's creation. It is not necessary to write a constructor for a class. It is because the compiler creates a default constructor if your class doesn't have any. Then we can see rules of creating Java constructor. There are two rules defined for the constructor. There are two rules defined for the constructor. Constructor name must be the same as its class name. A constructor must have a explicit return type. A Java constructor cannot be abstract, static, final, and synchronized. Then we can see types of Java constructor. There are two types of constructor in Java. Then first one is a default constructor. No, without parameterized constructor. Then parameterized constructor. Then we can see Java default constructor. A constructor is called as default constructor when it doesn't have any parameter. Then we can see example of default constructor. We are creating the without parameterized constructor in the bike class. It will be invoked at the time of object creation. Then we can see what is the purpose of a default constructor. The default constructor is used to provide provide the default values to the objects like 0, null, etc. depending on the type. Example of default constructor that displays the default values. Then explanation. In the above class you are not creating any constructor, so compiler provides you a default constructor. Here her 0 and null values and provides by default constructor. Then we can see Java parameterized constructor. A constructor which has a specific number of parameters is called as a parameterized constructor. Then we can see why use the parameterized constructor in Java. The parameterized constructor is used to provide different values to uh, distinct objects. However, you can provide the same values also. Then example of parameterized constructor. We have created the constructor of a student that have two parameters. We can have any numbers parameters in the constructor. Then we can see constructor overloading in a Java. A constructor is just a method but without return type. It can also be overloaded like Java methods. Constructor overloading in Java is a technique of having more than one constructor with different parameter parameter lists. They are arranged in a way that each constructor performs a different task. Different tasks. They are differentiated by the compiler by the number of parameters in the list and their types. It's all about constructor. Thank you.